trust you had a great day. I did too. And so sorry for starting this live late. I planned this live earlier on, but due to some activities I couldn't start, and I had to push it forward. So yeah, I'm sorry if you waited for this live, but now we're here. Please let us know where you're joining us from, so we can holler you back. Let us know if you're online with us. And thank you guys for being online. Thank you for staying with us all this while. It's been great. But yeah, tonight we want to talk about something good again. We want to talk about something great tonight. We want to talk about the quiet habits that are slowly destroying your life. The quiet habits that are slowly destroying your life. We've been focused a lot on your personality, your person. So let's keep this going. So let me start with something uncomfortable this night. Some people think life falls apart in dramatic ways. They think ruin shows up with one big mistake, one big scandal, one big betrayal, one big failure, one big collapse. But that's not actually how life works, how life breaks. Most of the time, life breaks quietly. It breaks in the habits nobody claps for, the habits nobody questions, the habits that feel small to get ignored. You know, a little avoidance here, a little delay there, a little emotional eating, a little scrolling, a little dishonesty, a little neglect, and a little numbing, a little drifting. And because none of this look catastrophic in the moment, people don't realize they're slowly building a life that will one day hurt them. So tonight, I want to talk about these quiet habits. This quiet habit, because some of you are not being destroyed by one big decision. Hello, Pro Bacon. You are being worn down by small repeated patterns that are quietly stealing your peace, that are stealing your focus, stealing your time, stealing your confidence, stealing your health and your future. Hey, my name is Matt Miller. So if you're meeting me for the first time, this is Built for More with Matt Miller. And if we can see those things clearly, I believe we can change them. Welcome to this stream. Welcome to this live stream. If you're just joining us, please let us know where you're joining us from. And when you do that, I just want to say this carefully. Tonight is not about shame. It's not a message of shame. Tonight is about awareness. Because awareness is mercy. When you see clearly what is harming you, you have a chance to change it. But many people live years of their life as an autopilot. They normalize things that are hurting them. So they call it stress, they call it a season. Some they call it life, they call it their personality. But deep down, they know something is off. Their peace is weaker, their mind is foggier, their discipline is thinner, their joy is duller, their confidence is lower, their relationships are all stained, their future looks fragile. See, all these things don't happen because of one big event. It happened because of patterns, quiet habits, small repeated choices. Tonight we're going to name them. And before we get deep, I just want you to know at this point that small things matter. Little things matter. And that is exactly why this conversation matters. If you're just meeting me for the first time, this is Built for More with Matt Miller. Here we talk about growth. We are pro-growth. We are pro-development. Nothing else. Now, The real the reason why quiet habits are so dangerous is because they don't look dangerous. The reasons why quiet habits are so dangerous is because they don't look dangerous. But that's what makes them powerful. A loud problem gets your attention, right? A quiet problem they become part of your identity. If something dramatic happens, you respond. But when small things happen and they happen repeatedly, you adapt to them. You stop noticing them and you just build them into your routine. You make room for them, and one day you wake up and you wonder, why am I always tired? Why is it that I can't focus? Why do I always feel behind? Why am I so anxious? Why am I always reacting? Why is my confidence always low? And the answer is often not one big thing, all right? It is the accumulation of small things that you stopped respecting. Late nights, undisciplined mornings, phone addictions, avoided conversations, negative self talk, financial denial, skipping rest, ignoring boundaries, saying yes too often, right? All those things. Quiet habits are dangerous because they train your life in a direction before you realize that direction you're heading in. So you don't even know you get trained. Hey, thanks so much for the gift, Kyla. Thanks so much. Now, this is why this talk matters. Because many people are trying to fix their life at the level of outcomes while refusing to examine the level of patterns. But your patterns are always speaking. Your patterns are always speaking. Let me ask you something honestly tonight. What is one habit in your life that feels small, but deep down you know it's costing you more than you can admit? What is that one habit in your life that feels small, but deep down you know that habit is costing you more than you can admit? Maybe it is procrastination. Maybe it's unnecessary scrolling. Maybe it is your spending habit. Maybe it is your withdrawing habit. Maybe it's your avoidance. Maybe it's negative thinking. So if something comes to mind, just look at that word. Look at that word. See, these things right here, you already know what that is. So the issue is not always ignorance. No. Sometimes the issue is that we keep minimizing what is quietly harming us. And what you minimize, you really change. So tonight we're going to stop calling serious things small just because they are common. All right, so let's start with one of the biggest quiet destroyers of life: avoidance. Avoiding conversations, avoiding decisions, avoiding your bills, avoiding your health appointment, avoiding truth, avoiding your emotions, avoiding your potential. Avoidance. Avoidance feels harmless because it gives immediate relief. So instead of you to face the fact, it is quite easy for you to just avoid it and move on. So it always feels harmless, right? And that's why people do it. That's why people do it. That's why you do it. That's why I do it. You avoid the hard conversation because you want to feel the relief. You avoid checking your bank account because you want to feel the relief. You know that if you check it, maybe what is there is going to make you go red-eyed. So you're like, let's forget about that for now. Avoidance. You avoid facing your habits because you want to feel relief. But relief is not peace, my friend. Relief is not peace. Relief is temporary distance from something that is still waiting for you, whether you like it or not. So how I simply put it, relief is more like moving your problem from today into tomorrow. Instead of fixing the problem today, you push it into the future. It is still there, still waiting for you. You just change the date of engagement. Relief is temporary distance. And the longer you avoid something, the heavier it becomes emotionally. Then what started as one avoided conversation becomes relationship tension. What started as one ignored statement becomes financial pressure. What started as one postponed habit becomes a pattern. Avoidance often trains weakness. People who avoid things, people who push things forward, they're often weak. It teaches your mind that discomfort should always be escaped. Yeah, you're always looking for the exit plan. Next exit. Oh, let's run away. Instead of facing things head on, I want to run away. See, when your mind learns that pattern, your life starts shrinking around any subject you refuse to face. So if it's a subject of money, finances, whenever money is mentioned, you go into a frenzy. If it's about your relationship, whenever that is mentioned, you go into defense mode. If it's about your children, how you deal with them, whenever that subject comes up, you go into defense mode because your mind has now been taught how to run away from that. See, a lot of people do not realize how much of their stress is self-created by what they keep postponing. Because postponing truth or postpone truth gets heavier, as I said before. Postpone responsibility gets louder. Postpone healing gets deeper. Postpone discipline gets more expensive. And the longer something waits, the more power it seems to have over you. Have you noticed that? The more you push things forward, the more it's becoming difficult to handle. The more you push things to tomorrow, the more it's becoming difficult. Instead of you handling those smaller tasks today, you push them into tomorrow. When you get to tomorrow, it has compounded into something so big. It has metamorphosed into something so big that you cannot even handle. That is why avoidance is one of the most dangerous quiet habits. Not because it feels destructive in the moment. In the moment, it feels relieving, but because it slowly trains you to distrust your own ability to face your life. So avoidance builds self-trust. It kind of reduces it, right? It erodes self-trust. Let me tell you about someone. I remember someone who kept putting everything off. Everything in life to him had a later attached to it. So you say, hey, when are you going to do this? I'll do it later. When are you going to check that? I'll check it later. When are you going to deal with that? I'll deal with that later. I'll have that conversation later. I'll start that stuff later. I'll fix it later. And because they were not lazy in a dramatic way, nobody thought much about it. Because they were still working. They were still functioning. They were still showing up. But underneath, life had become heavier. Bills were piling up. Bills upon bills. Bills were piling up. Tension in relationship were deepening. Their own self-respect is wearing out. It's becoming thin. Because every time you delay something important, you're sending yourself a message. Anytime you delay something important, you're sending yourself a message. You're saying, I can't trust myself to face things. That erodes self-trust. That is the hidden cost of avoidance. When you start pushing things into tomorrow, things that you should face today, you start pushing them into tomorrow. The hidden cost of avoidance is the erosion of self-trust. It doesn't just delay outcomes. It damages self-trust. And one day, they finally admitted something painful. My life isn't hard only because of what happened to me. It's also hard because of what I keep refusing to face. See, friends, that's a painful truth. But that is also a freeing truth. Like honesty, on this channel, you hear me talk about honesty a lot. That is the beginning of healing. That is the beginning of getting results. It is a painful truth. It's also a freeing truth. Because once you name it, once you're able to tell what the problem is, you can start changing it. And that is what a lot of people need. Not more inspiration, not more motivation. You hear me say that every now and then on all my videos. You need more honesty. Because the truth is, if something has been quietly eating away at your peace, if something has been chiseling away your peace, pretending it is small will not make it small. Pretending it's not there will not make it go away. Ignoring it does not reduce its power. It only delays the day you finally have to deal with it. So the day of impact is only being moved backwards. Denial does not mean it's not there. So let's talk about another habit, another quiet habit that is destroying a lot of lives right now. Mindless scrolling. I call it mindless scrolling. Not using your phone with purpose, not learning, not connecting, just drifting with your phone. Scrolling when you wake up, scrolling when you're anxious, scrolling when you feel alone, scrolling when you don't want to think, scrolling when you're supposed to rest, scrolling when you should be present with your family, scrolling when you should be facing yourself. The problem with scrolling is not just only wasting time. It is a mental fragmentation. It trains your mind to be restless. It weakens your attention. You find yourself not being able to handle a project or a task from end to end. You find yourself always looking for an escape route because your mind has been trained into fragment. Scrolling weakens attention because you're now used to very short videos, short answers, and you move from one to the next one. So you're training your mind. Scrolling feeds comparison. A lot of time you're with the phone when you're just doing this mindless scrolling. That's where you see someone that just bought a car. That's where you see someone that has just gone on a vacation. That's when you see someone that just have a baby. So comparison starts happening in your head. Your head has become a theater of comparison without you even knowing. Scrolling keeps you emotionally stimulated. It steals your silence, the time that you need to think. Your phone has now stolen it from you. And some people even haven't heard from their own thoughts in years. They've not even sat down to have a quiet time with themselves. They've not heard from themselves in years. Because they never let their mind get quiet. The time the mind wants to get quiet, the phone comes into play. If you constantly fill every empty space with stimulation, you will struggle to hear truth. You'll be struggling to hear truth. And when truth gets drowned out long enough, drift takes over. You just find yourself drifting. A lot of people are not just tired physically. They are mentally scattered. They are spiritually noisy, emotionally overfed, and inwardly undernourished. Their mind has no room to breathe. And that kind of life makes it hard to even pray deeply, or to think clearly, or to listen honestly, or to live intentionally. A lot of people cannot sit down and listen to Matt talk for 1 hour because their mind has been built by the phone into attention span. They want to move to something else. The constant input becomes a quiet thief. It steals your depth. It steals your attention. It steals your self-awareness. I heard someone say something once that was very honest. They said, I realized I was not addicted to my phone. I was addicted to not feeling my own life. That really hit me. He said, because a lot of what people call phone habits are deeper than technology. Sometimes the phone is a shield. The phone has become a hiding place, a shield from boredom, a shield from loneliness, a shield from grief, a shield from self-reflection, a shield from the anxiety that rises when life gets quiet. And that person realized that they are filling every gap of silence because silence made them uncomfortable. But you cannot heal what you never sit with. You cannot become whole while always running from your own internal world. So the phone now it has become more than a device. The phone has become an escape hatch. It has become an escape route for you to go to because you don't want to think. So what do? You get a phone to while away time, to just scroll. Because you know that if you stay alone, you're going to be quiet. And once you're quiet, you start thinking and you start facing reality. But because of that, you don't want to face reality. What do? You get to your escape hatch. You get a phone. You get a distraction. The phone has become a distraction. It's no longer just technology for you. And the scary thing about quiet escapes is that they don't look like destruction. They look normal. Everybody uses it. That is why it's so easy to miss how much it is costing you. And the cost is not just time. It is intimacy with yourself. Some people have not even heard from themselves for the past 10 years, 5 years, 2 years. They've not sat down with themselves to really say, let's self-reflect. Every quiet time is filled up with the phone. It's not just time it's taking. It's taking your presence with your family. It's taking the clarity in your decisions. It's taking the depth in your speech. It's taking the attention from your own soul. Some people are starving for peace while overfeeding distraction. And they don't realize the thing they reach for to relax has become the thing that keeps them from internal unsettlement. They are now practicing what you call escapism with your phones. Let me ask you something real, friend. Which habit do you think is stealing the most from people right now in the world? Is it avoidance? Is it mindless scrolling on the phone? Is it overspending? Is it negative self-talk? Is it procrastination? Is it emotional eating? Is it lack of sleep? Which habit do you think? I just want you to think about it. Which habit do you think is affecting a lot of people? See, all these habits, they are not loud habits. They are not loud. They don't blow sirens. They are common things. That is why they are so dangerous, because they are common. Common doesn't mean harmless, friends. Just because many people are doing something does not mean it isn't damaging them. Sometimes the most culturally accepted habits are the ones draining the people the most. And tonight, I want you to remember that normal is not always healthy. Familiar is not always safe. Common is not always wise. Let's talk about procrastination a little bit here. Procrastination is not always laziness. On this channel, I've talked about it in so many ways. A lot of times, procrastination is emotional resistance. You procrastinate because the task feels overwhelming. It feels too big. You procrastinate because starting will expose your fear. You procrastinate because if you actually try, you might fail. So the fear of failure makes you procrastinate. You procrastinate because delay gives you temporary emotional safety. And again, temporary emotional safety is not long-term freedom, it's not peace. But procrastination quietly teaches your mind that pressure should be postponed instead of processed. So instead of you facing the pressure head on, you postpone it to another date. And when you do that long enough, when you do that for a long time, your life fills with what we call unmade decisions, unprocessed decisions, unfinished work, delayed opportunities, and chronic mental heaviness. The thing about procrastination is this, friends. Even when you're resting, you're not actually resting. Because the undone thing, that work, that thing that you left, that thing that you push forward is still sitting somewhere in your mind. It's still sapping your energy, it's still draining your energy. It's still speaking in your ears even when you're sleeping. It's still accusing you. And that is why procrastination is exhausting. It turns one task into two burdens. The task itself is one burden, and the guilt of not doing the task is the second burden. So instead of you facing one problem, you're now facing two because you procrastinated. And after a while, people start living under a cloud of chronic almost starting, almost changing, almost going to school, almost taking the action, almost becoming serious, almost being free. And that's a very painful way to live. Because the longer you postpone what matters, the more your own inaction begins to feel like a weight on your identity. We live in a world today where you have people not even being able to tell what they are anymore. Identity crisis is now everywhere. All these things they did not come out from one big bang. It's an accumulation of small, unresolved, unprocessed thoughts that people push and push and push and push. Then the day of impact, it becomes too much, and you see somebody that is confused. You ask him, "Who are you?" He doesn't even know. He doesn't even know. Procrastination. He has pushed things forward and forward and forward, and he has gotten to the point where he doesn't even know who he is. Friends, I knew of someone who was almost beginning everything. He was always about to start. He was about to write the book. He was about to apply for the role, about to get healthy, about to have the conversation, about to take the course, about to become serious with his life. And from the outside, it looked helpful, it looked hopeful. You think, oh man, this guy's going to make a change right now. Because they always had intention. They always had a plan. They always had ideas. But intention without movement becomes its own form of self-deception. Intention without movement becomes self-sabotage. Because eventually, you start mistaking your plans for progress. You start thinking the plan is progress. And that person realized one day that they had been emotionally living in the future while practically doing very little in the present. That is the trap. That is the trap. You can become so attached to the fantasy of future changes that you stop respecting the daily actions that change requires. And years can pass that way. Years. Not through collapse, through delay. Through delay. Through postponement. Through emotional bargain with yourself. And one day, they said something that was painful and honest. They said, I keep saying I was getting ready, but I was really just staying uncomfortable. I was really just staying comfortable place. That's the hard truth. Because sometimes what we call preparation is really avoidance wearing a better outfit. And until you tell the difference, your life will keep moving slower than your intentions. You need to be able to tell the difference, or else you're not going anywhere. Now, let's talk about something a lot of people underestimate: negative self talk. The way you speak to yourself matters. Some people will never speak to another person the way they speak to themselves. You hear somebody say, I'm so behind. I always mess things up. I am lazy. I am weak. I will never change. This is just who I am. I have ruined it before, I'll ruin it again. I can't do this. Negative self-talk. And because those thoughts, they are internal, people dismiss them. But internal baggages become internal atmosphere. And if you breathe criticism long enough, you stop expecting growth. Negative self-talk quietly destroys courage. It lowers your standards. It weakens your willingness to even try again. It makes shame feels like truth. And once shame feels like truth, change becomes very, very hard. Because see, people rise into identities that they just keep verbally tearing down. Some people do not have a discipline problem first. They have an internal hostility problem. Internally, they are hostile to themselves. Their internal atmosphere is hostile. They are trying to build a stronger life while constantly speaking weakness over themselves. And words matter. These words matter. Because see, repeated words becomes belief. Repeated beliefs becomes posture. Repeated posture becomes patterns. So if the voice in your head is always condemning you, do not be surprised when your life starts reflecting exhaustion instead of confidence. I remember hearing someone say they thought they just needed to be tougher on themselves. More discipline, more pressure, more self-criticism, more get it together kind of talk. But the harder they attacked themselves, the weaker they became. Because they were calling discipline, or what they were calling discipline was actually contempt. And contempt doesn't build stable growth, it builds fear. Eventually, they learn that discipline matters, yes, but discipline works best in an environment of truth, self-respect, and responsibility, not constant self-hatred. And once they started speaking to themselves more honestly and less cruelly, their consistency improved. Because now they are building from responsibility, not emotional violence. Friends, it matters a lot. It matters a lot. Because many people are trying to grow in soil poisoned by the way they speak to themselves. You're trying to grow in a soil that you have poisoned with your words. They think shame will make them more serious. But most of the time, shame just makes people hide. It makes them avoid. It makes them reset. It makes them stop trying. Mercy is not the absence of accountability. Mercy is what keeps accountability from turning into despair. And some of you do not need to excuse yourself tonight. But you do need to stop attacking yourself in ways that make growth difficult. Let's talk about emotional numbing for a second. For some people, it is food. For others, it is shopping. For others, it is entertainment. For some, it's being busy, constantly busy. The behavior changes, the pattern is the same. Pain shows up, stress shows up, loneliness shows up, disappointment shows up. And instead of processing it, people consume something to soften it. Now listen carefully, friends. This is not about condemnation, this is about understanding. Because when people numb themselves, it is usually because They don't know how else to carry what they feel. They don't know how to process their feeling, so they numb themselves. But numbing never solves anything. It only delays the meeting. It only delays the date of impact. And then you still have the pain, plus the consequences of how you try to escape it. That is why those quiet habits become so costly. They promise comfort, but they leave damage. And the danger is that the numbing habit can become your automatic response. Have you seen people when they're stressed, they eat? When they are stressed, they just eat food. When they are lonely, they go buy something. When they are frustrated, they just take the phone and they start scrolling. When they are disappointed, they just take a walk, they go buy something. When they are overwhelmed, they shut down. These are numbing practices. And once a pattern becomes automatic, it starts shaping your life before you consciously choose it. You don't even know. When you're just angry, the next thing is you're looking for food. When you're disappointed, you just think of, oh, I just need to go buy something. You just need to spend money. And see, that's why awareness matters. Because you cannot replace what you refuse to recognize. I want you to imagine something tonight. Imagine 10 years from now, you look back at today. What will hurt you more? That your life was imperfect, or that you kept practicing habits you knew are weakening you now? See, that's the real question you need to face. Because some people don't lose 10 years because they lack talent. They lose 10 years because they kept defending small habits that are slowly draining their lives. Friends, that's powerful. Because once you stop calling all these small habits, once you stop calling them small, you give yourself permission to finally address it with seriousness. And sometimes that is the breakthrough that you need. Not just a new strategy, a new level of honesty with yourself. Another quiet habit destroying life is neglecting sleep and recovery. As simple as that. People are tired in many ways that they've now normalized those ways. They stay up too late. They overstimulate their minds. They drag themselves all through the day. They run on caffeine. You see them taking coffee every time. They run on adrenaline. They run on stress. And after a while, they stop realizing how much exhaustion is shaping their personality. When you are exhausted, you are more reactive. All you do is reaction. You are more impatient. You're more impulsive. You're more negative. You're more fragile. You're more likely to procrastinate. More likely to numb yourself. Rest is not laziness, my friends. Rest is maintenance. And if you refuse maintenance long enough, everything else becomes harder than it needs to be. Some people don't need a new life plan first. They need sleep. They need recovery. They need silence. They need to stop acting like exhaustion is a personal trait. But let me tell you something important, friends. A tired version of you will make different decisions than the restored version of you. So if you live chronically exhausted, do not be surprised if everything in your life starts feeling heavier, less hopeful, less clear, less deep, and more difficult to manage. A lot of people are judging themselves harshly while ignoring how much depletion is shaping their behavior. As simple as sleep is, as simple as recovery is, we still take it for granted. I knew of someone who kept saying, I have no motivation. They thought they had a discipline problem. They thought they were lazy. And when they started being honest with themselves, they realized something simple. They were sleep deprived. They were overstimulated, emotionally overloaded, nutritionally inconsistent, never still, never restored. Of course, they had no energy because energy is finite. It is not just there. It's not a pipe that doesn't finish. It's finite. It runs out. Their life was structured in a way that guaranteed exhaustion. And exhaustion keep showing up as procrastination, as irritability, as low mood, as poor choices, and self disappointment. That is why awareness matters so much. Because sometimes the thing you are blaming on character is actually being amplified by a quiet habit you never respected enough to change. And when you started sleeping more consistently, when you started putting boundary around your nights, reducing your stimulation, and protecting your recovery, that motivation problem changed. Not because life got easier overnight, but because you're no longer fighting every day for a depleted place. That matters because you cannot keep draining yourself and then act surprised when your life starts feeling difficult to carry. Let's talk about one area that I see a lot of people are on habits that is causing a lot of damage today: financial avoidance and small leaks. Avoidance, ignoring your numbers, not checking your spending, spending emotionally, letting subscriptions pile up, pretending it will fix itself, buying to impress, buying to soothe, buying because you feel behind. Again, none of that looks dramatic in the moment, but simple leaks sink ships. A big ship will be sunk by a simple leak. And many people are not drowning because of one huge financial mistake. They're drowning because of 100 unexamined small choices. They're not tracking their spending. They're not planning how to go ahead. They're not pausing what they buy. They're not telling the truth about what they cannot afford. Financial peace does not come from fantasy. It comes from facing reality with courage and consistency. That's why quiet money habits matter so much. They don't just affect your bank account, they affect your nervous system. They affect your stress, your relationship, your future options. I've seen people live under financial pressure for years, not only because they lack income, but because they lack honesty about their habits. And once a person begins spending to numb emotion or spending to perform success, money stops being just maths. It becomes emotional. And emotional money, any emotional money habit can quietly destroy stability faster than people realize. Let's get a little bit practical at this point. How do you break quiet habits before they break you? Number one, stop minimizing them. If an habit is costing you peace, time, focus, your health, money, or self respect, it matters. Face it. Number two, name the real need behind the habit. Are you tired? Are you lonely? Are you avoiding? Are you anxious? Are you ashamed? Are you overwhelmed? What is the real need behind your habit? Number three, interrupt the pattern early. Do not wait until you're deep in it. No. Number four, replace, don't just remove. Like I always say on this channel, if you remove an habit, make sure you replace it with something good. Scrolling may not be maybe just sitting down and scrolling on your phone can be replaced by taking time to walk. Instead of you taking your phone to your scroll, just walk out for 10-20 minutes. Just take a walk in the breeze. Instead of you to eating, just to eat, just to numb your pains, you can start writing. If you feel like eating, you can just start writing. That's journaling. Instead of overspending, you may need to pause and just name the emotion. Number five, reduce access. Make the harmful habit hard. Like I always say, make Make access to your phone hard if you don't need it. Make healthy habits easier. Create space for you. Number 6, build one daily act of self-respect. A small repeated proof that you're no longer willing to quietly betray yourself matters. Very small. Number 7, return quickly when you sleep. No drama. No identity collapse. Return. When you fail, move on, return. This is how change becomes real. It's not through hype, through design, through honesty, through reputation, through reflecting and respecting the power of small things in both directions. Because the same way quiet habits are slowly weakening your life, quiet act of self-respect can slowly build your life. It is very important. Now let me tell you something hopeful tonight. If quiet habits can slowly damage your life, quiet habits can slowly rebuild your life too. Small acts of honesty, small acts of discipline, small act of presence, small act of rest, small act of courage, small act of truth. Your life does not only move downward quietly, it can also heal too. It can heal quietly. It can strengthen quietly too. It can stabilize quietly too. That's the hope. Because it means you don't need one big dramatic fix. No. You need very small patterns, new quiet loyalties, new daily proof. And over time, those small changes becomes a a different atmosphere, a different mind, a different rhythm, a different life. That's why I always come back to the power of daily patterns. Because what you repeat becomes your reinforce. It becomes what you reinforce. And what you reinforce becomes what you eventually live inside of. So yes, quiet habits can destroy a life, but quiet discipline can restore one life too. That's where the hope is. Let me leave you with this tonight, friends. Most lives are not ruined in one day. They are shaped in small, repeated ways. And if that is true, then tonight matters. Because tonight might be the night you stop dismissing what has been quietly draining you. Tonight might be the night you stop calling the harmful things small. Tonight might be the night you start respecting your own future enough to confront the habits that have been weakening your future. So don't live this life only feeling convinced. Live this life clearer, live this life stronger, live this life more honest, more willing to protect your peace, your future, your body, your mind, and your money too. If this message resonates with you, kindly like this live. And also, kindly share this message with someone that is going through a tough time. Because see, friends, small things matter. Small things matter. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your support. This is Mark Miller signing out for the night. Thank you and God bless. Peace.